another recap, Girls Next Door recap episode of Do You Remember This? A podcast about Hollywood's best first decade, the early 2000s. Today I am joined by two bright lights in a dark, dark world. Chelsea and Donnie from, they have a great podcast, I was just on it, called I Am the Cute One, where they recap all the old Mary-Kate and Ashley. I mean, I guess you would call them short films. They're not.
That's very generous of you.
Yeah. I mean, let's call it that. I don't know if anyone else will, but we certainly can here.
Well, I realized, I was like, it's not a TV show. It's just tiny bits of cinema.
Yeah, just 23 minutes straight to VHS. Who could ask for anything more?
Not me. I mean, I was a big fan of the series back in the day, and then when you guys invited me to be on your podcast, I was so excited, and then I was like kind of baffled with how bad they are. But so we will be discussing The Girls Next Door. I believe it's season 3, episode 11, the episode where Holly has her Marie Antoinette themed birthday party. And getting started, I ask everyone this. Did either of you have a relationship to The Girls Next Door when it was on? And if so, what was it?
Like the show or them personally?
Personally, yes. Like, do you know them personally? Can you hook me up?
The show I did, I wasn't like a every weeker, but I did dabble in that world quite often. And then when my friend, my RA actually, when my RA in college got married, I made t-shirts naturally with the Girls Next Door logo on it, where I was Hef and she and her husband and the maid of honor were the Girls Next Door. Nobody asked for that, but I decided to do it.
I love that you were
that
like,
is so nice.
Yeah, I love that you were like, oh, it's your wedding, so I am Hugh Hefner. Yeah, I was the same. I watched the show. I definitely was dabbling at the time. I think that I did go back and do like a rewatch a couple of years ago. And then I did read Holly's book when it came out. And that I think triggered me to rewatch, because once you read that book and then you watch it with fresh eyes, it's a lot darker than it initially was the first go round.
So in your podcast, you ask everybody, do they identify as a Mary-Kate or an Ashley? Do you identify with any particular girl?
I always identified as a Bridget, and I don't know if I truly identify as a Bridget or if I just know that I don't identify as a Holly or Kendra, so I'm only left with Bridget.
I think like I want to be a Bridget, but I think that I'm full Holly. I think that I am definitely more of a Holly, and we'll get into it, but Kendra is my nemesis. I truly cannot stand her. And rewatching this episode, I was reminded that, it's tough.
Now, see, Chelsea, famously, we are both slow talkers. And whatever, we're something. And we pause in random places, you and I. Mm-hmm. And you said you are and I just assumed you were going to say Kendra. So that the end of that sentence really took a turn.
Wow. Well, right here and now we are breaking up. The I Am the Cute One is no more. Donnie called me a Kendra. Goodbye.
Now, what about Chelsea gives you Kendra vibes?
She's sporty.
Careful.
That's really it. That's...
Yeah.
I mean, I will say this often, the thing that you hate in others is what you recognize in yourself. And so maybe that is like your strong aversion to Kendra.
Yeah, Kendra does have like an innate ability to make everything about herself. Like and I know we will get to it, but like that bitch sat on the cake on purpose. And I do see traits of myself in that, where I am able to expertly navigate a conversation back to myself by any means necessary.
Oh, I am the exact same way. I mean, truly, it's just like a running a running monologue in my head of like, Dara, don't you dare bring this to you. Dara, don't you tell them how this also happened to you, but like it wasn't that similar at all. But you know.
But don't you think that's kind of like a prerequisite for having a podcast, that you just like love to hear yourself talk and you feel like you have so much to say that you're like, yes, I'm actually going to start a podcast where I can talk and hope that people are also listening.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, the three of us have podcasts about like Mary-Kate and Ashley and like Paris Hilton, like, and we're all like, yes, the people need to hear my hard-hitting opinions on these people. Like, that's what the world needs most.
I feel like it gives me an outlet to talk about these things, so I'm not only talking about myself. And truth be told, I am talking about myself on the podcast because I am known to go on tangents, but I feel like it's better here than like someone saying, you know, like my dad died. And I'm like, that's okay. I found a sale at Neiman Marcus last week that really took a turn for worse.
My dad died. Oh, wow. You know, I have a dad. So I get that. Wow. He is living. He is living. Very strong, but man, I get it. So do you either of you remember this episode? Because I remember this episode being like kind of burned in my brain of the handful of what I consider iconic episodes of the show. I feel like this is one of them. Did you remember this episode at all?
I agree 100%. I remember this episode vividly. Like I said, I didn't watch every episode of this series, but the ones that I did, this one stands out the most to me. And I feel like, in my mind at least, I don't know if like Girls Next Door lore if this went down the same way, but for me, like this fits in with like the slap on the Real World, the Simple Life Sonic episode, the Janelle and Bo fight on Big Brother 6. Like this is iconic, memorable television for me.
I agree, and I really do think it has three main components that made it iconic. One, the golf cart. Two, that cake. And three, Holly looking just like a creamy little princess in that costume she wore.
Also also the man who like full on almost pooped his pants when Holly was trying to tell him that like he needed to tell Hef to postpone movie night. That is the moment that was burned into my brain, and I had forgotten about it until the moment I saw his leather jacket and it all came flooding back to me. And I was like, oh right, this man literally like almost poops his pants on camera.
I love that scene, and I've rewatched it several times, just like over the course of my rewatch of the show. I always return to that moment. So it's Brian, they call him guest services. I mean, he's really just kind of like a house manager. For, you know, and a house manager, I've worked with extremely wealthy people, and I was very shocked to see like this common thing where basically like rich adults have a babysitter that get them from point A to point B. And it feels like that's what Brian is to have, like his lady sitter.
Yeah. A babysitter that has no control over the child because the child will like throw a temper tantrum and he's like, yes, sir.
Yes.
The movie is 123 minutes and I will start it at 6:30. Thank you.
So
now, I'm sorry.
Oh, no. Go.
My question is, do we know the estimated like worth of either Hef or just the mansion in general, or I don't know, just answer some kind of money question for me, because in the past I always had like a very clear vision that this was like paradise, but watching through a 2021 lens, they all kind of seem like Tiger King people, and like the mansion is not as gorgeous as I thought.
It's very Grey Gardens adjacent for me doing a rewatch.
Yes. Okay, so first of all, I just want to put a pin in Tiger King because I have a theory that I thought of because of Tiger King. But to your money question, so at this point, the money is like really running out. I don't know the exact number at this point in time, but like, so at this point in time, Hef does not even own the mansion.
Oh.
Playboy Enterprises owns the mansion, and then each of the bedrooms he rents from Playboy. So like uh in Holly's book, she mentions like when the other girls moved out and there was all these extra rooms available, she asked Hef, "Can I take one of them as kind of like, you know, my space away from you?"
Yeah. Oh my
And
God.
he was like, "Absolutely not, because I'll have to pay like it's $12,000 a month for you to stay in that room, and you're not worth that." So at this point, they're bleeding money, and you know, with this huge staff and everything, and they're not keeping up the place. Part of it is, I think, lack of money, and then part of it is just Hef having just like a very Grey Gardens vibe about him in general, just like a mental illness, shall we say.
Yeah, I think we shall.
Because that was part of like the reason why they wanted to do this show is it was all smoke and mirrors, and he agreed to do it because basically he was going to present it as it was still so lavish in this lifestyle and like get people reinterested in Playboy, because it was kind of like dying at that point and kind of like a joke, like a running joke, like yeah, people wanted to come to the mansion for these parties, but then you would go and it was kind of like the house is falling down around you type of thing.
Yes,
Oh.
exactly. Well, okay, so my Tiger King theory. I guess it's not really like a theory, it's more of an observation. Um, but people who like to have rich people with exotic animals in their home
Mm-hmm.
are really special kind of, I don't know, psychopath. Um, and Hef, of course, had like all of these exotic animals. He didn't have big cats, but I just find that there's like a real through line of strange rich people with
Mm-hmm.
exotic animals.
Yeah, it just speaks to them thinking they can do like whatever the fuck they want. But it also speaks to like, I just, whenever I see like an exotic bird in a backyard, I just think of how much shit there must be and how I definitely
Mm-hmm.
nobody is picking it up.
That, yeah.
Absolutely. Ugh.
Do you think that Brian had to pick up bird shit? I mean, there was no bird in question here, but hypothetical bird shit? It would be his job, right?
Well, no, I think it would be more kind of like a groundskeeper situation.
True.
But I do feel like animal excrement um, of animals, all types, shapes, sizes, was like a very important job that somehow they never hired for, because the place
Mhm.
was just always like littered with shit. But they had so much staff, you'd think someone would have that on lockdown,
It
but
was
they
It's
just
did
like
just
a
in
not.
missing
nobody's
job.
job description.
Yeah, it was just a missing job point.
Like everyone was like, "Wait, I thought you were picking up the shit." Oh my god, no, I thought you were picking up the shit. Uh-oh. Okay, so in this episode, Holly is turning 27. Now, was that age surprising to you at all? Did it evoke any feelings in either of you? Because
It was
I
shocking.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah, it was like simultaneously too old and too young. I couldn't figure
Yes.
out what I was shocked about. Like, I was shocked. I literally gasped. And my husband was like, "What's wrong?" And I was like, "Holly's turning 27." But I couldn't tell if I was shocked because she was so old or so young. Because I remember watching it originally, and I know that she was like the mature one, right? Like, she was Hef's number one girlfriend. She was the one who always seemed to have like a good head on her shoulders. She was responsible. But then just feeling like, I don't know. I truly don't know if it was she was too old or too young.
Yeah, I thought 24 or 35, nothing in between.
Yes, yes.
um yeah, she looks so youthful, and then I mean, I feel like I say this in every single episode of this series is the hair just like ages
Ugh,
everybody so much.
Mm-hmm.
yes.
Um, I mean, she's beautiful, of course, but yeah, 27 just does not seem accurate.
And I think I have to remember, like, she looked youthful in the early aughts, where we were all tanning ourselves within an inch of our leathery little
Yes.
lives. We
Right.
were all like, nobody looked youthful. I look back at pictures of me in like 2012 and I look older than I did today just because of like the style and the fashion and the hair. And I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
like, and it was like in to just look like a grease ball all the time. So for her to look this youthful back then is like really amazing, because I'm like, what would you have looked like with like contour and Instagram filters at 27? You would have looked like a baby's bottom. But at the same time, it's like she has this weird quality, and there's only, I can't think of another example, it'll come to me, but like there's this certain specific element that, and it's very rare in Hollywood, where somebody looks really young for an old person. Like I would look at her and be like, oh my God, you look amazing for your age. But it would be like, I'm thinking she's 40 looking
Yeah.
27, and she still looks 27. So it's great because she is 27. But in my mind, I'm like, wow, what a beautiful, youthful, middle aged woman. And that's not even
Okay,
shade to her. I'm just trying, you know what I
no.
mean though?
Well, I've always said that about Lisa Vanderpump. Like,
Mm.
oh, she looks
Yes.
so amazing for her age of 70 years. And I know when I figured out like how old she was, and I was like, oh, okay, she
She
just
looks her
looks her
age.
age. But
Right.
I, for some reason, was like, oh yeah, she's like 68, right? I don't know.
How old is Bridget? Because she's another one that I feel
Okay,
looks
so
good for old.
no, she is actually, well, I don't want to say old, but I guess I can say old because I think at this point she's like my age now.
Mm.
Um, so I can just call her old. Um, it's like, oh yeah, I can say that about Jews. I'm Jewish, like I'm 33. I can say this about 33 year olds. But I think around this point, she's she's like 33, 34. She
Okay.
is significantly older than Holly and Kendra.
Okay, that's what I was gonna guess.
And she looks great too. And she also doesn't have the hair. Like her hair is still a lot,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not that like bleached hay hair that the other two have. And so like they all look amazing. It's just, yeah, 27. I'm still shooketh.
It's you know what? I think it's great to look that way at 27 because imagine, if you really grow into your agelessness, like Holly's still very ageless to me.
Definitely.
Yes, for sure.
Um okay, so moving along in the episode, the the big, I guess, B plot here is Kendra not knowing what to wear, which Chelsea, I'm looking for you to really like go off because I'm just
Ask and you shall receive.
I'm just dying to know how long did she know about this party and she just, you know, did not even consider looking for an outfit until the day of.
Mhm. Yeah. So I'm going to go off. Thank you for giving me permission for it. So a couple things. You saying that, the things that we see in others are things that we don't like about ourselves. It's really resonating with me now that I'm about to call her a brat, because I am the world's biggest brat. And I think that she just has that like bratty little sister quality about her. And
Mm-hmm.
the difference is I am down with a costume party. I will go out. I will plan. I'm beginning to plan my Halloween costume for next year, and it's November. Like I am that bitch. I am that person. Donnie's the same way. So I would not be this way about a costume, but I do think that she thought this theme was dumb. It was a night that
Mm-hmm.
wasn't about her, and she was going to find a way to make it about her. And it's like, yeah, how long did you know about this? And not only that, but like, Holly was so generous to give her a costume. Now it was a
Yes.
Snow White costume, but I thought it was like so sweet. She was like, "It's Chargers colors, you're good." And she still like goes out of her way to wear a pirate costume. It's like, come on. Come on.
Yes. That's what really so this is maybe like the third time I've watched this episode. And in this rewatch, I really saw like how, because I hate just like unabashedly hating on Kendra, because I'm like, you know what, she's someone that would really annoy me, but she's young. I try to give her the benefit of the doubt, but she has so many moments in this episode where she's just like rolling her eyes. She thinks everything is so stupid.
Yeah.
And she can't just say to herself, you know what? I'm going to make it easy. I'm going to make Holly feel good and wear the thing that she spent money on and took the time to pick out. And I'm just
Mm-hmm.
going to, wear something that normally I wouldn't. But she
Yeah.
like cannot concede it.
Yeah, and I don't even mind. The pirate costume didn't even look bad when she pulled the sleeves off. Like
No.
what
Yeah.
she showed up in was fine. I think it fit the theme well enough. It tricked me. But for Holly to have known that she needed a costume means that she was making a big enough deal about waiting to the last minute and not having a costume. And that is where, like, she could have brought you a Miss Piggy costume with a Muppet headpiece and you still should have wore it because you went out of your way to tell the birthday girl that you were unprepared.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did
What?
think it was funny because Donnie and I are both like costume party dictators, and this is something both of us would do to like supply costumes to people to make sure they showed up on theme. Because on one hand, I was like, this is so thoughtful, and it like speaks to how Holly is really always paying attention and really always like looking out for people, and that she, even if Kendra wasn't making a big deal to her, she like inherently knew that Kendra would be like freaking out last minute, not having a costume and not prepared. But at the same time, I do believe Holly had like an alternative motive to be like, this bitch better show up in costume because she's going to show up in her low rise jeans and take all the attention away from me. But I also like the thing about this show is I think the juxtaposition of the way that Bridget and Holly treat each other versus how Kendra approaches them. And I understand, to get like dark for a moment, that this house was like just a house of horrors. Like it was so trauma filled and they were all just like doing their best because it was a very like stressful, chaotic time for everybody, and everybody deals with stress in different ways. But just like seeing like Bridget go out of her way to like have all these like thoughtful on theme gifts, and she has her costume ready, and then you see Kendra like rolling her eyes and being like, ah.
Yeah, it's tough to see, especially knowing that Holly put in the time. But yeah, you're completely right that she also was, I think that is like actually the crux of the relationship between Holly and Kendra, and just Holly and any other girlfriend besides Bridget, like the other
Mm-hmm.
girlfriends that she had
Yeah.
problems with before the show, is I think that she does have good intentions, but there is always an ulterior motive as well that serves her. And I think like people sense that in her and they like glom onto like whatever this ulterior motive is that
Mm-hmm.
that's under the surface. Like Kendra, I feel like Kendra looked at that outfit and instead of thinking like, oh, she put in the time to get it and she thought like it's Chargers colors, like she was thinking of me in this moment.
Yeah.
All she could think of was, oh, she wants me to wear this stupid thing. Of course I wouldn't like this. Why would she think that? She just wants me to
Mm-hmm.
have a stupid dress for her stupid party.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it can be both. Like, I think Holly was looking out for her, but it's in that older sister type of way of like, yeah, I'm going to make sure that you show up in a costume, but it's also going to be Snow White.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I mean, on some level, she really should have known that Kendra's not a Disney adult. She's not going to wear that. Like I'm surprised that she didn't make that connection, but she just was so fixated, I guess, on oh, it's Chargers colors, but
Yeah, but it would have. I think she would have stood out more if she would have wore that. Like
I
that was
agree.
less on brand than what she ended up wearing.
I completely agree. And it almost makes me wonder, I hate to like ruin the illusion, if if that her picking out that dress was actually just like production, um,
Mm.
knowing that Kendra would never wear that, but it just gives Kendra an opportunity to have like some small sort of conflict, like, oh, I'm not wearing what she picked out.
Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
Yeah,
can say?
probably.
Okay, so then Bridget goes to Anaheim to pick up Holly's golf cart. I mean, just truly a beautiful, beautiful piece of machinery that I do love that she's like, well, Hef knew that Holly really wanted a golf cart for her 27th birthday, and he gave me full reign to do whatever I wanted. I'm like, does this man even know it's her 27th birthday? Like, I don't buy for 2 seconds that he was like, Bridget, go to Anaheim and build Holly the golf cart of her fucking dreams.
And also, like, free reign to do whatever you wanted. It wasn't really that big of a responsibility. As soon as they said, like, she wants a golf cart, I knew exactly what this golf cart was going to look like. Like, just a Barbie convertible as a golf cart. You didn't need someone that, like, knows her and is like sisters with her. Anyone that even slightly knows who Holly is could have put this golf cart together.
They're like, make sure it's pink and an advertisement for Playboy. Got
Yeah.
it.
Done and done. Also, I'm just picturing Bridget like driving the golf cart back from Anaheim to Beverly Hills.
Now that's a misproduction note to have her like in the middle of the highway, like the thing about the reality shows from this time period is like they are simultaneously so low stakes but also set so high stakes, and they do all these like quirky little editing bits, and when poor Hank takes that golf cart and is like driving around the compound with it, there was like straight up 007 music playing and I was on the edge of my seat, and then he just like casually parks it, like literally going like 2 miles per hour, parks it perfectly fine. But the editors add this like crash sound effect. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. They just ruined Holly's birthday present. She has been wanting this golf cart for so long. And now Hank has ruined everything. But no, just a sound effect, never talked of again. Totally fine.
They do so many silly sound effects of just like things crashing. It's just like that that scene in It's a Wonderful Life where like the uncle walks off screen and like you just hear a crash. But
Yes.
I will say that here, any film fans out there, fun fact, he actually walked out of that scene and like did crash like into the craft service table or something.
Oh my God.
So they left it in. Fun
Amazing.
fact.
Wow,
That
that
is
is
a
a
fun
fun
fact.
fact. Jinx. Um, my biggest takeaway with this whole golf cart thing was when Hef wanted to put it in the garage, and he says, "Open sesame." I, it's sesame, right? It's supposed to be
Oh,
sesame.
it's Sesame, baby. It's Open
Mhm.
Okay,
Sesame.
that's what
I,
I thought. But then, like, he was alive for the creation of this phrase, so I was like, whatever he says must be right. I've been wrong this whole time.
I feel like Hef was really on one in this episode.
Mhm.
Like he was doing a lot of like little head bobs and like plays on words. Like when she's opening her presents at the actual party, he says something like, "Oh, he gives her a slice of cake that was like it's like a screen printed cake with her picture on it as Marie Antoinette, and he hands her uh, the slice with her face on it." And he goes, "Oh, give me a little head."
So gross.
It's like such a stretch. He is like, it's so wild. Like, he really was like the epitome of the creepy old man. Like, even the way
Yes.
he laughs, he's like,
Mhm.
heh, heh, heh. It's just like, oh, you can just like feel that like hot scotch breath just like
Yes.
breathing down your neck of like, heh, heh, heh. It's like, oh, God.
Ugh.
Yeah, just lecherous, creepy old man energy. And just
Mm-hmm.
like he has dad jokes, but they're all sexual in nature, which makes him creepy grandpa.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very like Mia's husband from Potomac this season.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh my God,
Yeah.
you're so right.
It's
Wow.
very like uncle you haven't seen in a while at a graduation party that comes up to you and is like, "My, haven't you grown?" It's like, oh
Yeah,
Jesus.
like
Hmm.
the wolf from Little Red Riding Hood.
And then you give him like a cocktail or two, and it's just like every joke out of their
Ugh,
mouths is like a sexual innuendo because they don't know how to like relate
function
with
in
anyone.
society.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow. That was Donnie, that really resonated with me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Glad I could help.
So Bridget brings back the golf cart, and then we have like a big thing of Holly snooping around looking for stuff, looking for her presents. And this is actually a theme that I've seen a lot throughout the series of Holly snooping. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering, are either of you snoopers?
Yes. Very much so. I okay, so here's the thing. I in like terms of surprises, I love to be surprised. I don't love knowing a surprise is coming. Like,
Same.
yeah, if you're going to give me a surprise party or even like a surprise Christmas gift, whatever, then just do it. But like for me to have any hint of it, then I need every detail and I will snoop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
same.
I am definitely a super duper snooper. And that is Mary Kate and Ashley callback. But but no, I am very much a snooper. And this was the scene that I was like, yes, I am definitely a Holly because I need to know everything. I famously every year tell my husband that I would like a surprise party and then tell him what date I would like it on. And he's like, but that's just a party. That's not a surprise party. And I just love the image of Holly just like popping out from behind corners, being like, I heard that. And I just like, I found it so funny that like, and that's another Kendra thing. Like, Kendra was ready to throw that poor man under the bus when they are
Yes.
both talking about it loud. You know, Kendra saw Holly in the next room and was like, Hank, did you just bring back the present? Did she see it? I'm like, Kendra was setting poor Hank up.
Ooh, she
You're
was.
right.
You're so right. Ugh. Because she knew exactly what she was doing, and it is such an interesting episode of their relationship with each other, of just like the absolute tussle for
Mm-hmm.
attention.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
And the different
Mm-mm-mm.
styles of getting it.
Yes. Ooh. Oh. The different styles of getting it. Like Holly is so much more subtle about it.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe that comes with age and wisdom, 27 years of wisdom.
I also think not like looks. I don't think it's a looks thing, but I think Holly naturally gets it, so she doesn't have to fight for it. Like she's a Marsha Brady, and Kendra is very much Jan to me.
I think she's a Jan that thinks she's a Marsha though. Like I don't think Kendra has any self-esteem issues. I
Mm.
think she like and that's what originally like I really did like and resonate with Kendra the first time I watched it, which is funny because like now looking back, I just she just like rubs me the wrong way. But originally like I liked that she was a little rough around the edges, that she like has been through so much, that she like really like fought her way to where she was, and she like carved out, she was a hustler, she was like she figured out a way to make it work for her. And I always thought that was really cool, and you see that play out of she's gonna like win by any means necessary, but she also like doesn't realize that she's not necessarily like on the same playing field. But at the same time, I think that Hef kind of liked that, and that kind of threw Holly specifically for a loop of like, well, wait a second, I'm playing by all the rules, and now she gets to come in and kind of do whatever she wants and be the wild child, and you love her for it, but I'm being punished for like wearing red lipstick.
Well, that's interesting you say that too, because I was just watching Holly does these like she does recaps of the girls next door on her YouTube channel, and she was recapping the episode where they're in Chicago, like visiting all of Hef's old haunts, and there's like a moment where they're very clearly making fun of Kendra for being a ditz or whatever, and she kind of got into the dynamic of how Hef used that to upset Bridget and Holly, which was he would really like reward Kendra for her ditzy behavior and be like, isn't she so funny? Isn't like we love how like spirited and silly, and oh, she doesn't know these words. And Holly and Bridget took it very much as a slight against them because he knew how important it was to them to be educated and to learn and to be smart, and they that was like their big, I think that was like also a reason why they would often be at odds, is they prided themselves on being smart and being interested people, intelligent people, and I feel like they thought Kendra made them look bad.
Well, it was like they were always fighting against the stereotype of what people would assume about them as Hef's girlfriends and Playboy bunnies, and, you know, kind of what society in general in that toxic ass time period specifically would have thought of them. And then Kendra comes in and Hef almost like rewarded her for going into all those stereotypes. And I don't think that Kendra was playing a part. I think she's very like, you can say a lot about her, but I do believe she's like very much authentically herself, which is refreshing. Like, it's always refreshing to be around a person, even if they drive you batshit. Like, there's something very freeing about being around somebody who is authentically 100% themselves, because it kind of gives you permission to do the same. But that's in a situation where there's not this guy that's like literally playing mind games to like pit you against each other.
Yeah, that's so, and she is so unapologetically herself, because and I wonder where that comes from in the pathology of it all, but like the fact that she just can't wear the Snow White outfit. She could not possibly put that on because that wasn't her, and like she also she would never put on the bunny costume because there was something about it that she was just like, it's not me. And she was like, she knew how much Hef wanted her to wear it, and she knew that Holly and Bridget thought it was weird that she refused to wear it, but she was like, I can't do it. I don't want to, and it's not me, so I won't do it. Which, you know, God bless.
Yeah. There's a disconnect, I think, from her, like, wanting to be seen as a child. Like, she pulls away from that childhood stuff where, like, I feel the Playboy Mansion is this big emphasis on, you know, like being girly and being a little girl and being all of this stuff. And that is the stuff, like the Snow White costume and the bunny costume. And that is the stuff that Kendra pulls away from. And I think she's fine being immature, but like this vision of being a little girl, for whatever reason, that is really where she draws the line.
I wonder if it's also from her being a child and not being seen in her own childhood, not being like completely understood of how like important to her it was in her adulthood to set herself apart and be seen, and you know, no one can overlook her or make her be who she doesn't want to be, because like, you have to see me and who I am.
Right.
I mean, is this too deep for
No, I think we are as deep as it really is. Like Chelsea brought up earlier, there was that trauma there and there was that whatever. And I do think even like how it is Tiger Kingy and how it is like it really is that episode of Doug where Roger's house was just like a cardboard cutout of a mansion and then it fell over and he really lived like in a trash can or whatever. I I think that is how this episode really, as soon as like I thought I saw like a dirty garage in the back or like Hank was wearing jeans and a polo as his uniform and I was like something's not right here. But then
Mhm.
when Holly said she wanted a golf cart for her um birthday present, the golf carts are very hit or miss. Like you're very wealthy or you're very not wealthy. So that is where my eyes were opened
I would
here.
argue that the golf cart owning ratio to the exotic pet ratio, the Venn diagram is just two circles on top of each other of like the
Yes.
same type of rich person.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's just interesting, and I think the magic of this show is number one, like it's just such a moment in time, and you can watch it, and it really does just like hit on all the nostalgia factors. But also, like the more you know about it and the backstory, like the producers and the editors were giving us like a little wink and a nod even back then,
Mhm.
because there were like a couple things that Holly said that like in the moment you could think that she's just like playing up like my life is great, but there were some quotes that she had in her confessionals that were so dark. One of the things was she said,
Yes.
it's not that I don't like surprises, it's just that I don't want people to hide things from me. And
Mhm.
Oh,
then it ends with her saying, I guess that's what happens when your life is perfect. And I was like, this shit is dark.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That that is so I feel like Holly especially and I think Bridget does it too because I think they're so willing to kind of be the cogs for the producers of and like
Yeah.
for Playboy of building it up and saying like how aspirational everything is. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but Holly is always saying stuff of like my life is perfect and I have the best
Mm-hmm.
life in the world and I get everything and Hef is like the most
My
interesting man in
puffin.
the world, my
Mm-hmm.
puffin. And it's just like I I don't know how I watched it. It didn't go I don't
Mm-hmm.
know if
Well, I
being
think also we're like primed more now because it's very reminiscent of the Instagram couple. Like I always say, if a couple on Instagram writes a caption that's like words cannot describe, if the Instagram caption
mm,
is more than 6 sentences long, they are headed for a breakup. Like it's that doth protest too much thing. Like
yes.
whenever I see a couple on Instagram post a selfie like through the ups and downs, I got you, babe. I'm like, oh, you're in a down and it is ending.
Yeah, I also think the early years of reality TV, it was like all Instagrammy kind of, where like everything was filtered almost. And I don't mean like the footage, but I mean like in terms of the story we were given, it wasn't edited and produced, but it was still packaged to us in a way where like we weren't supposed to see the dark in it.
Yes, and not realizing that I feel like the more you try to hide the darkness, it
Hmm.
the more it like seeps out in
Yes.
weird ways and like you still get those glimpses of it. Like there's just simply no way to truly hide it, especially when you're actively trying to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a savvy
Definitely.
savvy
Yeah.
viewer watching it 20 years later.
As it was intended to be viewed.
Yeah.
Right.
Speaking of Instagram couples, this couple is someone I would love to find on Instagram if anyone knows where they are. The couple that wins the contest to go to Holly's birthday. Um, what did you think of their costume?
Okay, hers, I thought she was dressed better than half the playmates. His
Yes.
didn't really fit the theme. Um so I
He
had
was
some
going
issues
to
with that.
Kendra's party, his Kendra's private party.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. And I what was I going to say about them? First of all, I want to know what the contest was. I want to know what these two people had to do. Was it just like sending in box tops? Did they had to make a video? Did they? I need to know.
Did they have to pay rent on one of the rooms in a sweepstakes?
I feel like they had to like rent the golf cart, drive it in, like valet everyone for the evening. Like I don't know.
They
don't
were the
feel...
ones cleaning up the bird poop in the backyard.
Exactly.
Yeah, maybe.
Exactly.
Well, they were sat at a separate table. They didn't even get to mingle with people.
Okay, so that's so funny that you noticed that because I forget where Holly said it. It might be in the DVD extras, in the commentary. She was like, "Oh, I got so much crap from everyone that I sat them somewhere else, and people were like, oh, did you not want to actually interact with like the plebes?" And she was like, "I just thought that like if I were at a party with a bunch of people I didn't know, I would want to sit by myself too."
Oh my God.
But see, this is why I am a Holly, because I saw that situation and I was like, oh, that would be such a relief, because this type of thing, like I'm an extrovert. I love talking to people. Donnie knows I am famously so bad with celebrities. Like I do the weirdest shit. I told a story on I Am the Cute One of the time that I saw Shailene Woodley in an airport. And this was like pregnant life, secret life of an American teenage years. Like this was not anything that she's done since then. This was like her CW shit. She was going down an escalator and I was going up, and I literally gasped and full arm pointed at her.
Oh
and I got to the top of the escalator and my husband was like, "What the fuck was that?" And I was like, "Well, that was Shailene Woodley." And he's like, "I mean, I know, but like you just pointed at her like you were at a zoo." So like if I were in that situation, I would need like to take 10, sit at a table by myself, collect myself. Like that is not a situation I would ever want to find myself in.
Huh.
Donnie would be dancing on the table for entertainment.
Yeah, I truly can't relate. They'd be cleaning up my feces in the corner.
Oh yeah, I would have gone into that being like, this will not be a successful evening if I don't walk away with like everybody's phone number and like everyone's my new best friend and they're like, "You know what? You should be one of the girlfriends."
That's exactly how I think. I worked, not anymore, thank God. Things have changed, but I used to work at Bubblegum Shrimp Company, and the owner, Tillman Fertitta or Fertata or something, he's like a billionaire, and he has all these different restaurants, and he had a reality show that was kind of like Shark Tank, except with restaurants, and he filmed an episode at our restaurant. And when I went in for my shift, I was a server, that's it, just a server. I went in for my shift and I was like, they're going to give me a spinoff. Newsflash, they didn't. But I really was dead set. Like I went in with a haircut. I was dressed to impress.
See, this is the Gemini in me, because I want to be the center of attention and I want to be famous. But if I were in that situation of being in that Playboy mansion, I would be like Holly, popping around corners, just being like, I heard that. Like I would be like you would see me in the background, just like lurking behind a statue, just like taking it all in, but not saying a fucking word to anyone.
Like you're a Muppet.
Yes.
I'll never be able to get just like visions of both of you at this party, like lurking and also dancing on tables.
Yes. We would go together. That's why we're the perfect duo. I would do the recon,
true.
I would be the spy, and Donnie would just be like full on doing show tunes in the corner for everybody.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're a good duo, because I would be doing things nobody asked for, so then it would put the pressure on me, and people would, I don't want to say ignore you, but when they're like, where's security to get rid of this guy, it gives you that moment you need to yourself.
Yeah, you guys just like, the party would be over and you'd be like, "Oh, I haven't seen you for 3 hours." Well, okay, so wrapping up the episode, Kendra, the big climax, she sits in the fucking cake. And Chelsea, I never considered that she did it on purpose until you suggested that, and I think she did it on purpose.
Yeah, because then she got the attention, the cake was ruined, and like Hef was laughing at her, like with her, in that way that you talked about earlier of like, isn't she so silly? Oh, she's so ditzy. Oh, that's just Kendra. And so she was successful in taking away the attention from Holly and getting, most importantly, Hef's attention on her.
True. I
Yeah.
will argue though that cake was ruined as soon as it was made. My eyes were just really open this entire episode to how non-glamorous we're working with here. But I do
Yeah.
understand what you're saying, and I agree that
Well,
she did it
speaking
on
of
purpose.
non-glamorous, I know that you're trying to wrap us up here, so I do apologize,
No,
but
no.
we do need to talk about these like portraits she had made that
Oh
were
Please.
my
basically
God.
like, it was truly like, I get an ad on Instagram where I can like make my dog a soldier, and it's in that same styling. Like, this is one of the many targeted ads that Instagram thinks that I must have. And let's be real, I'm probably going to order it in the next 6 months because I buy anything I see enough on Instagram. I'm like, all right, fine, you convinced me. But I love that it was like presented as like this man had like painted them for her.
Yes.
And I'm like, this is like the most lowbrow shit. And again, Hef doesn't even pay attention to Holly's. He like goes right up to his portrait and he's just like,
Oh yeah.
Well, here's the thing. If that man truly painted it himself, they were pretty good. But if they're photoshopped, which I think they were, it is terrible. And
yes.
more importantly, you could tell that that Holly thought they were terrible because it was very like Christmas morning getting a pair of
Yes.
socks
Yes.
and you have to she's like, "Oh my god." And then even better than her reaction, the painter then really had to lay it on because here's a camera in his face and his art is not being appreciated. He was like, "You like it, right? It's good? You think it's beautiful?" She's like, "I think it's beautiful." He's like, "Yeah, they're really good." If you have to say it, it might be not true.
Yeah.
I
He
think
made Hef's head so small. Hef's head
and
was
her
so
head's so
small.
big.
Yes.
Like her face was huge and like didn't fit on the head. And then Hef's head was like a little shrunken head.
Yes.
It
was very face and hole. You know,
Yes.
faceandhole.com,
Yes.
like in that time period. Actually, you know what? Face and Hole was of that era, wasn't it? Like, I bet
yeah.
he did a face and hole and then he just cropped it so it didn't say faceandhole.com at the bottom.
I think that is
Wow.
absolutely what happened because, and I think Holly's reaction is also compounded by the fact that like, so Mark was the guy who every year would do the painted ladies for different parties, and like that's how Hef met Kendra. She was a painted lady, and he paints all the ladies. Now, as you can imagine, painting women's bodies doesn't it might not translate to canvas.
Different skill set.
Different skill set. And I wonder if like on some level Holly thought that he would like really paint it or something, and she's like, oh, okay, I could have done that myself.
Oh, you went to jibjab.com. Got
Yes.
it.
Oh my god.
So finally, Holly opens her presents, and she opens her presents in front of everyone, like a child's birthday. And I feel like it's another Grey Gardens thing, and it's sort of like, oh, is there money here? Because I can't believe at how like low budget every one of her presents was. Like a t-shirt that says Paris Girl.
And then Bridget, the gift Bridget was most excited to give her was that CD. Well, first of all, it was like a doll from Walmart of like a Parisian girl, and then a CD from like some French film or something. But the CD was clearly a burned copy in like a clear case.
Yeah, it was so like they went to Claire's and Hef
Yes.
was like, go wild, ladies. Just anything you want from the $5 rack. Just do it. And I get that everything's on theme. I think that she actually weirdly like really appreciated that everybody
Yes.
went all out. But it's like that element of like I love knickknacks. I love like little clusters of nonsense decorated all around my house, but like I hate just like clutter and trash. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all stuff that would like immediately go in the trash. Like, oh great, an Eiffel Tower clock from Five
Yeah.
Below. Wonderful. Oh, this doll that now I have to like have watch me sleep at night. Wonderful. Oh, a bra that you have personally bedazzled that says I
Yes.
love Hef. Like none of that, all of that was very like person that you just met or like 13th birthday party.
Yes.
Like so weird.
Well, I do think, like, I think you're right. Holly really did appreciate and really liked everything. Like, I thought she was very genuine in her reactions to
Mm-hmm.
everything. But I can't figure out if it's like an immaturity or like coming from a humble background thing. Because on some level, I think Holly is like very childlike, and in
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
other accounts of her that I've read, people have been like, oh, like her and Bridget were like little girls who like to like collect little girl stuff. And it
Yeah.
was like really weird that they spent their money on this stuff. Um, so I don't know if it's that or if it's also coming from like a lower income background where instead of like wanting to focus your money on like something more expensive, you buy like a bunch of small things to just like
Mm,
accumulate stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I can't
yeah.
tell which it is, but like if I was 27 years old and I got all that junk, I would be very annoyed.
It's like a party favor at a 5-year-old's birthday. Like, oh, great. I have a
Yes.
bunch of stuff that I'm going to like half use once and then they're going to be worthless and broken. But I also think it does just go back to like some of the stuff she talked about in her book of just this was an opportunity. This party was about her. And so the
Mm-hmm.
fact that like people took the time to think about what she wanted and get her things that were
Yes.
on theme, that was a theme she chose, that was a theme she wanted, that was like Paris and Parisian and like all the things that she wanted. Like I do think it was a genuine reaction. Like she was so thankful and appreciative that people took the time to think of her, because I think like in a fucked up way, and sorry I keep making this dark, but like I do think that like in a fucked up way, like she is so not seen every other day of the year that like they
Yes.
could have given her
Mm.
like a bag of dog shit and been like, I thought of you when I saw this because it was shaped like the Eiffel Tower, and she would have like taken it and been like, thank you for thinking of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is a very poop
Holly.
heavy episode. I'm sorry, Dara.
That's what happens when you get me. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Dara.
I think that you just like really can't avoid it when you're talking about the Playboy Mansion. Like there, you can't avoid the poop, both spiritually and literally.
Next time you have me on, I'll tell you the story of the time I pooped in a McDonald's bag, but that'll be a little teaser for your listeners.
Wow.
Ooh,
A
a
little
moose
tease.
boosh. Well, this was a true and utter delight. I feel like we really had some thoughtful points. Do either of you have any parting shots on the episode, on the gals in general, anything else?
Do I? Yes, I do. I know you said parting, so and it's like 3 paragraphs long, but I'll make it really quick. I just would like to reiterate how mad I was about some of these costumes. For instance, for instance, number one, it really pissed me off that Hef was in his robe. He was not
Yes.
dressed to theme. That bothered me the most. And what also bothered me is when that bitch in the blue dress said, "Oh, I look like Tinkerbell." Tinkerbell's dress is green, and I hate when people make incorrect costume references. That's all.
Mm.
Final thoughts.
I mean, I think that people needed to hear that. That was
My face is red. Oh, I'm flushed.
oh,
Ugh.
Chelsea. Anything to add?
No, I
Yeah,
was
top
kind of
that.
yeah, I was waiting for the rant from Donnie because he really does have a lot to say about costumes. No, I just think in general, we were talking before we started recording, and we're recording this the Sunday after Thanksgiving, and this truly cured me of my Sunday scaries because I had not forgotten about the show, but there's something magical about going back and watching this and just this period of time, reality television, because like we didn't understand it yet. I get to like put myself back in that mindset of just like
Mhm.
enjoying trash for trash's sake. And I
Yeah.
really felt like I was in the gutter. I was in the trenches of the trash, and I very much enjoyed myself. So thank you so much for having us on.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you guys. I mean, yeah, you're totally right. Like, you watch Real Housewives or like Beverly Hills, and you're like, oh, they've got nothing. They've got nothing this season. And there was a point in time where we would sit and watch a 27-year-old's birthday party, and like that's what nothing is. And yet it's nice if you just let yourself luxuriate in the nothingness, I think.
Mhm. Mhm. Amen.
Absolutely. Although I will say, we were like 20 minutes into this episode, and I expected, a full length thing. So I hit pause, and then there was only 3 minutes left. I said, oh, thank God. But I did
Yeah.
enjoy myself.
Yeah, it could not be any longer. And it's also the reason why this show could never exist. One of the many reasons why this show could never exist today is you never see a half hour or 22-minute reality show anymore. They always try
Yeah.
and fluff it up, which is like what they did with The Hills, which used to be a 22-minute show, and
Yeah.
now they try and elongate it, and it's like, babe, you got
Mhm.
nothing here. Let's just get in and get out.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
We can do anything for 22 minutes, and that proof is in the pudding with our podcast because we watch Mary Kate and Ashley sing for 22 minutes, and if you can do that, my God, you can do anything.
Oh, you could
Very
do
true.
anything. So Donnie and Chelsea, tell everyone where they can find you both, your Instagrams, your podcast.
Sure. You can follow me on Instagram at Donnie Hadfield Smith. And you can listen to Chelsea and I together on I Am the Cute One. Or you can listen to me with my husband on Know That, a Real Housewives podcast. And both podcasts are available wherever you get your shows.
Oh my God.
Wonderful.
I didn't know you had another podcast with your husband. That is
Oh,
so
I do.
chic. That is so
Thanks.
chic.
And the
There
two
used to
of
be
them
three of us, but then he,
killed him.
uh, yeah, there's a true crime podcast about that coming out. No, he stepped away to pursue a career in writing. So my husband and I said, let's rebrand. The people love a gay interracial relationship. Let's give the people what they want.
You simply must give the people what they want.
And I will
Okay.
say, my favorite thing is listening to you and Quinn argue about things, just like mundane marriage things, because every single week I go back and forth of whose team I'm on. And I like to text Donnie and let him know whose team I'm on. So I like to think that, like, in my mind, there's like a point sheet somewhere in their house where they're like, oh, Chelsea is on my team this week for this fight.
There is. You don't need to imagine that.
A cork board, I hope. Yeah,
I'm
and
going
you guys, yeah.
I'm going to get immersed in your podcast, and then I'm going to choose a side, and then I'm going to make t-shirts.
Oh, we
Like,
love merch.
Only if you
little
make Donnie hef.
No, you can only do that for my wedding.
I just really miss.
Also, I'm so. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I miss like the Team Aniston,
Oh
Team
yeah.
Team Jolie shirts, and I just really need to find another team to get on and
I know.
make some
Hollister made
merch.
so much money with team shirts. I had the
Mhm.
Team Elsie and the Team Kristen shirts
Oh
because I couldn't
my.
decide.
For a while, Donnie and I toyed around with the idea of having merch that said Donnie is the cute one or Chelsea is the cute one. But then I thought my feelings would get too hurt if like Donnie sold out and nobody bought mine. So, I had to protect my
Oh,
ego.
Oh, is that why we didn't go forward?
I think that's fair. That would break me. TBH. Well, you both are absolute true delights. This was, I think we got a great episode on our hands. All
I
right.
do too. Wait, can I
I
tell the
think so
people
too.
where to follow me?
Oh yes, yes, yes. Please, please.
I
No,
mean,
sorry, Donnie's the cute one.
we have said that Donnie's the one dancing on the table and I'm lurking behind the corner. So this is me proverbially popping out and saying, I heard that. But you can follow me at Ono Bravo on Instagram. And then I have a Patreon, patreon.com/Ono Bravo, where I do recaps of all current Bravo shows with my sister-in-law. It's super fun. This past week's episode, we recorded right before Thanksgiving. And we were like, we're going to keep it short. We've got a pack for Thanksgiving. And then we proceeded to just talk shit about my family for like a half hour. And thank God it's behind a paywall. Like my mom is a subscriber, but she can't figure the darn thing out. So I think we're safe. But go over there if you want any Bravo content.
I'm actually more interested in like hearing your family drama.
There was a lot of speculation about how the turkey was going to come out, but we survived. I haven't gotten food poisoning yet. Knock on wood.
It usually takes a few days, but I think you're just passing the window.
Thank God.
Okay, well, listeners, you're listening to me, so you know where to find this podcast. And yeah, follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and you know what to do. I trust you guys. All right, bye.